Live from New Delhi, you're watching DT India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next hour, Joe Biden and Donald Trump open US presidential debate with no handshake, then quickly spar over their presidencies. Both men come face to face for the first time in almost 4 years to try and convince voters. EU leaders nominate von der Leyen to head Commission for second term, while Italian Prime Minister Meloni terms the proposal a mistake. World's largest maritime drills begin in an increasingly tense Asia-Pacific. US Pacific Fleet hosting Rim of Pacific, bringing together the armed forces of 29 countries. Delhi rejoices as trailer of monsoon releases. Met Department issues yellow alert for day and more showers in store for coming days. India storm into the final of T20 Cricket World Cup after 10 years. Rout England by 68 runs, sets up final with maiden finalist South Africa. US President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump are facing off in a high-stakes debate in Atlanta, their first showdown of 2024 election cycle. The two rivals did not shake hands as they took their positions at podiums just feet apart in a studio with no live audience. They'll seek to reshape the political narrative as they battle over economic issues, foreign policy and international crisis, the country's immigration crisis and the state of American democracy. The candidates kicked off the debate by slamming each other's records on the economy, immigration, foreign policy and abortion rights. The stakes are high as both men come face to face for the first time in almost 4 years to try and convince voters they should back them on 5th of November. This is the second time Biden, a Democrat, and Trump, a Republican, will challenge each other for the White House after Trump lost in 2020. The debate looks fiery, with both the leaders pointing fingers at each other. On the issue of abortion rights, both leaders expressed their opinions.
They have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth, if you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, we'll put the baby aside and we'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby. What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
Well, this is what Biden replied on the issue of abortion after Trump's response.
It's been a terrible thing, what you've done. The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided. Supported Roe. And that's this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states, let each state have a different rule.
On the issue of Roe versus Wade being brought back or not, Trump called the diplomats as radicals and Biden negated the conjecture.
To, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby. Nobody wants that to happen, Democrat or Republican. Nobody wants it to happen.
That is simply not true. The Roe v. Wade does not provide for that. That's not the circumstance. Only if a woman's life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period. Period, period.
Under Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans. Sure.
Biden defends Middle East and Afghanistan policies, claims Trump gave Putin free rein on Ukraine.
As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country.
If you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want, and do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encourage him, do whatever you want. And he went in. And listen to what he said when he went in. He was going to take Kyiv in 5 days, remember? Because it's part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to reestablish, Kyiv. And he, in fact, didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it done. And they've lost thousands and thousands of troops.
On the Gaza issue, Trump criticized Biden for trying to hold Israel back from winning, while Biden said his plan included trading the hostages in exchange for Palestinian prisoners.
As far as Israel and Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one who wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
The first stage is trade the hostages for a ceasefire. Second phase is a ceasefire with additional conditions. The third phase is the end of the war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas. We saved Israel. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world. And so there are two different things. Hamas cannot be allowed to be continued. We continue to send our experts and our intelligence people as to how they can get Hamas like we did bin Laden.
All right, and DD India correspondent Caroline Malone is joining us from Washington, D.C. Hello, Caroline. It's a heated debate going on between Trump and Biden, with both attacking each other on various issues. How do you analyze this debate?
So the debate has just now ended. It was 90 minutes of back and forth between Trump and Biden. And you outlined there some of the major issues that they disagreed on, and there were many, and there was some heated back and forth on that. However, I think one clear messaging has come out above and beyond all of that, and that's that Biden did not perform his best tonight, to put it quite, bluntly. Within the first 12 minutes of the debate, Biden lost his train of thought and seemed to trail off his sentence and not really know where he was going, and then his answer time ended. And that was, quite a bad moment, really. It wasn't a good look for him. And we've seen a lot of reaction already on social media, including from Democrats, among them Andrew Yang, who was a former presidential Democratic candidate in 2020 who debated Biden. And he said that Biden is not the same person that he was back then, and that it's time for the Democratic Party to find a different candidate. All of this alluding to the fact that voters are concerned about Biden's age. He's over 80 years old now. He would be 86 at the end of a second term if he won again. And that is something that is of real concern, not just to Republicans, who are obviously using that as part of their campaign against him, but also among Democrats. Now, on the other side, we heard from Trump, who was calmer than we've heard from him in previous debates. One crucial change in the rules for this debate was that the CNN moderators were able to mute the candidates if they weren't supposed to be speaking in that moment. So we didn't have the kind of interruptions we would have had in the last debates. Trump, however, did manage to avoid a number of questions that he was asked. In particular, there was one about climate change, and he veered off and talked about policing and the need for justice and reform there. He was also asked about whether he'd accept the results if he, depending on what they are for the next election. He also managed to avoid answering that initially. So, Trump overall, I would say, coming across as a calmer candidate, really, with better mental agility, and Biden doing himself no favors tonight.
Okay. Well, this indeed is a crucial debate, between both of them, setting a perfect foundation for who will enter the White House after November polls. What are the key issues both Biden and Trump focused on?
So first up was the economy. Biden talking about, the strength of the jobs that he's created. He had to answer questions about inflation, the cost of living, which is of concern to voters here. Trump, alleging that Biden has ruined the US economy. Biden responding, though, that actually Trump was the one to create more debt, in fact, more than any other US president during his time in office. So they certainly had a disagreement over that. And that is something that definitely resonates with voters. Every single person aware of and concerned about the cost of living, the cost of going shopping, the cost of food being very much up there as a priority. The second one is immigration and border issues. Particularly the Republicans and Trump's campaign have focused on the number of people coming through the southern border illegally into the United States. Now, Biden has addressed that with various policies, but it doesn't seem to be enough at this point. And it's certainly going to be something that those candidates will likely continue talking about because it is a hot topic that people are really concerned about. However, in this debate, we heard Trump talking about how criminals are coming through the country, that everyone coming through the border is a criminal. Biden definitely contradicted him there and said that that's all lies, that's not true, they aren't all criminals. Of course, some criminals do come through, but it's not like other countries are opening their jails and letting people into the United States. So really calling out Trump there for what he says are complete lies. A lot of back and forth as well on foreign policy, Ukraine being a very hot topic among the two. Trump saying that the war would never have started with Russia if he was president, and that if he gets into power again, he will make sure that that war ends even before he's inaugurated in January. A very strong statement there saying that, he repeatedly has said in the past, but again, he has a good relationship with Putin, not that he agrees with him, but he has a good relationship with Putin and he would be able to end that war. He also criticised Biden and his the way that he's dealing with Israel and the Gaza situation and Hamas, saying that he would also end that. It's hard to see, though, in the detail how he would actually do that. Biden saying he's still hopeful of coming to a ceasefire agreement between Hamas and Israel. On climate change, that's another important issue for the United States. We've had a heat dome over the US over the last 2 weeks, very high temperatures and a heat wave. Trump was asked how he would deal with climate change. That was one of the subjects that he veered off and didn't quite answer. In fact, it's been suggested that he's tried to make a deal with oil executives so that he'd be more in favor of the energy companies than he would in favor of supporting policies to stop climate change. Biden known as being, more environmentally friendly in that regard. But I'd say overall, despite all these very important topics that they covered, the overall impression that voters are going to be left with tonight is that Biden did not do a good job of putting his point across, and potentially Trump did a better job.
All right. Thank you so much, Caroline Malone, for analyzing this. And thank you so much for joining in. And still to come on DD India News Hour. A train in Slovakia crashes with a bus, 5 people killed. Stay tuned for more details. We give you a sneak peek of what's happening in UK ahead of general elections there. Wildfires are once again ravaging the Arctic Circle of North Russia.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
All right, and you're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. EU leaders have nominated current European Commission head Ursula von der Leyen for a second 5-year term in the bloc's top job at a summit in Brussels. Von der Leyen's nomination still needs approval from the European Parliament in a secret ballot. widely seen as a trickier proposition than her endorsement by EU leaders. Estonian Prime Minister Kaja Kallas was picked as the EU's next foreign affairs chief, and former Portuguese Prime Minister Antonio Costa was chosen as the next chairman of EU summits. The leadership package represents continuity at the top of the bloc of some 450 million people, with centrist pro-EU fractions keeping hold of the top posts despite a far-right surge in elections to the European Parliament earlier this month. European Union leaders have signed a security pact with Ukraine, kicking off a two-day summit where they will also establish the EU's strategic course for the next 5 years and appoint the leaders of the EU's key institutions. The summit's draft conclusions revealed that the leaders will restate their resolve to support Ukraine for as long as necessary, emphasizing that Russia must not prevail and that Ukraine must reclaim the land acquired by Moscow. Alex Cadier reports from Brussels.
Well, the leaders discussed late into the night. They covered a real range of topics, from their security and defense to signing that security agreement with Ukraine. President Zelensky coming here in person, meeting with those 27 leaders, hosted by EU Council President Charles Michel, making it clear that the EU's commitment to support Ukraine remains steadfast and will be for the next decade. That's a real statement of intent from the EU. They discussed the situation in the Middle East, strengthening the language when it comes to their demands on Israel, asking it to respect the rulings of the International Court of Justice in The Hague. But the big story of this EU Council meeting was the EU's top jobs. Will Ursula von der Leyen stay on as Commission President? Will Kaja Kallas become the next top diplomat? And will Antonio Costa, the Portuguese Prime Minister, take the helm of this European Council? On that, all eyes were on Giorgia Meloni, Italy's Prime Minister. In the lead-up to this meeting, Meloni had threatened to oppose Ursula von der Leyen's reappointment as EU Commission President, saying that her grouping of far-right parties' surge in the European elections had been ignored in the choice of these top jobs. But when the moment came, Giorgia Meloni abstained and the three leaders were appointed. So after discussing late into the evening a range of very complicated topics, we now look forward to the next 5 years of the European Union under new leadership. Alex Cadier in Brussels reporting for DD India.
In an era of increased tension and growing competition between China and the United States and its allies, the US Pacific Fleet is hosting Rim of the Pacific, the world's largest international maritime exercise in Hawaii. Held every other year, Rim of the Pacific this year brings together the armed forces of 29 countries for 5 weeks of training, with a goal of strengthening multilateral relations and enhancing preparedness to promote a free and open Indo-Pacific. The exercise centers around combat and contingency training on land, in the air and at sea, with 150 aircraft, 40 surface ships, 3 submarines and more than 25,000 personnel conducting amphibious landings, urban combat training, anti-submarine warfare, ship sinking exercises, as well as cyber and space operations. Well, the UK is headed into the final days of its election campaign, with the governing Conservatives warning against sleepwalking into Labour. And Labour governments say the Conservatives are desperate ahead of the July 4th vote. DD India's Ollie Barrett reports from London.
A week from today, we should know the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and all of the polling continues to suggest that it's likely to be Keir Starmer leading a Labour government, and with potentially a large majority here at Parliament. The Conservatives have trailed behind right from the day that Rishi Sunak, the Conservative leader, called the general election. Recent days on the election campaign have been dominated by a scandal around politicians and other officials allegedly making bets on the outcome of the election, on the date of the election, the outcome of individual constituency races. In terms of issues, the economy has been a major focus. Immigration has been a major focus as well. after July the 4th, the new Prime Minister, whoever it is, will have a very quick focus on foreign policy, heading off within days to a NATO summit in Washington, D.C. But we are now into the final days of the campaign. We have one more weekend to go, and weekends can be crucial because people are at home when the campaigners get out and about and knock on doors. As I say, the opposition Labour Party, according to all of the polling up to this point, looks set to form the next government. Ollie Barrett in London reporting for DD India.
All right, news coming in. The high-stakes debate between Biden and Trump has just ended. All the excitement can be seen among political enthusiasts all around for the first face-to-face debate. Passengers on a flight from Minneapolis to Miami turned into the presidential debate while in the air. Biden and Trump traded attacks on abortion, immigration and their handling of the economy early in their debate, giving voters a rare side-by-side look at the two oldest candidates ever to seek the US presidency. Well, you can see the passengers watching the debate between Biden and Trump. It's a crucial debate which will decide and has also set a foundation of who will enter the White House after November polls in the United States. You can see the passengers watching debate very closely and listening the issues on which both Trump and Biden are talking about. It seems this year, election season is not going to take a breather. All the major countries such as US, UK, France and international organizations such as EU are going through this period. Even India had elections just a while back. In France, its Prime Minister Gabriel Attal on Thursday accused his main challenger for the top job, Jordan Bardella, of tolerating racist speech amid a heated last television debate before the start of parliamentary elections. The debate between Attal, far-right National Rally Party chief Bardella and socialist leader Olivier Faure was the last direct confrontation of three radically opposed views on France's future before ballots opened for the first voting round on Sunday, which is June 30th. Bardella, whose party is seen leading in the polls and could emerge the dominant political power in the country for the first time, rebuffed the accusations. President Emmanuel Macron abruptly dissolved parliament and called the election after his centrist alliance was crushed in European elections. The final outcome will not be known until the end of the second round of voting on July 7. And Mexican President-elect Claudia Sheinbaum named another 4 members of a future cabinet on Thursday, including a pair of former Mexico City officials to be her ministers for energy and transportation. Sheinbaum prepares to take office in October this year. The incoming leader tabbed Luz Elena Gonzalez as energy minister, who will also serve as chair of the board of directors for state-owned oil company Pemex, as well as part of board of National Electricity Utility CFE. Gonzalez was previously in charge of finance and administration duties for the capital during Sheinbaum's tenure as mayor. Sheinbaum also named Jesus Esteva to be her transportation minister. In a press conference on Thursday, Bolivian government minister Eduardo del Castillo said that 17 people had been detained so far following a coup attempt. The failed coup on Wednesday happened over just a few hours and provoked swift condemnations from world leaders, raising fears that democracy in the Andean nation remains at risk. Del Castillo added that according to a police investigation, the attempted coup had been planned since May. The former commander, Juan Jose Zuniga, was arrested, as well as former Navy commander Juan Arnes Salvador, Del Castillo said.
We have divided them into different groups, and the first group we have called the group of the preparation and planning of the coup attempt in our country, of the failed coup that was eventually by Mr. Juan Jose Zuniga Macia, who have been apprehended and presented before the Bolivian people and international community in forces.
And protesters blocked a highway in the Andean city of El Alto on Thursday to protest the attempted coup d'etat from former commander of the Bolivian army, Juan Jose Zuniga. The mobilization of military units on Wednesday saw the country's military commander gather troops in the main square of capital La Paz, ramming a palace door with an armored vehicle to allow soldiers to rush into the building. The soldiers ultimately withdrew and police regained control of the square, with Arce slamming the coup attempt and swiftly naming a new top general. Alright, Israeli security forces dispersed ultra-Orthodox Jews who were blocking roads near Tel Aviv in a protest against drafting members of the community into the military. Last week, the Israeli Supreme Court ruled that the state must begin drafting ultra-Orthodox Jewish seminary students into the military. Israelis are bound by law to serve in the military from the age of 18 for a couple of years. However, the law provided an exemption to ultra-Orthodox Jews. Russia claimed on Thursday that it had attacked Ukraine's airport facilities, while Ukraine said that it had engaged in 104 combats with Russian forces at the front. Russian Defense Ministry said on Thursday that its army used long-range missile and drones as a cluster to strike Ukraine's airport infrastructure, adding that all targets were hit. Meanwhile, the Russian Air Defense Forces shot 2 Ukrainian Air Force's MiG-29 fighter jets, 62 unmanned aerial vehicles, and intercepted several US-made missiles and rockets. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine reported that its forces had 104 combat engagements on the front line. The Ukrainian Air Force said it shot down 23 drones launched by Russia in the wee hours of Thursday. At present, both Russia and Ukraine are stepping up drone attacks against each other. Despite the government's withdrawal of a contentious finance bill, protests continued across Kenya, highlighting deeper issues in the country. Protesters took to streets against the bill, which was aimed at increases taxes to reduce debt. The demonstrators also demanded President William Ruto's resignation. Political analysts say the protests were merely a trigger that highlighted the deeper systematic issues that Kenyans have been facing, especially since Ruto came into power.
Basically coming back to bite him. And if you've been following on social media, what young people have been doing is to play speeches that he was making during campaign and then juxtapose those speeches with these decisions that he's making as a president. So I think that's part of the reason the young people are real mad at him.
And the president of the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly, Denis Francois, arrived in Cuba on Thursday, where he called for respect of Bolivia's constitution a day after a failed coup by a faction of the army. He landed in Havana for a 2-day trip where he is expected to meet with the host country's president, Miguel Diaz-Canel. The trip is aimed at promoting peace, progress and prosperity and strengthening multilateralism in the global scenario. Police and firefighters were at scene where a train crashed into a bus in Slovakia on Thursday, leaving at least 5 people dead and 5 others injured. The collision occurred near east of the capital, Bratislava, as the international train travelled from Prague to Budapest. Footage shot by a local broadcaster showed the train's locomotive and first carriage blackened by the smoke. Plastic bottles, tires, sofas, animals and even human remains form an island on Guatemala's 12-kilometer long lake. Locals, including many who depend on fishing or eat the fish from the lake, have expressed their concerns about the impact the contamination has on their livelihoods and health. The rubbish is accelerating the degradation of the lake's waters, which currently have a greenish hue. According to AMSA, 5,420 cubic meters of waste have been extracted during 2024. Contaminated waters from other rivers carrying pollutants from nearby municipalities end up in lake. And wildfires are once again ravaging the Arctic Circle of North Russia. It's the third time in past 5 years that high-intensity fires have swept across the region. Copernicus reported higher air temperatures and drier conditions in Sakha, Russia, which are rendering the ideal conditions for wildfires once there is a spark. Russian authorities says that more than 160 wildfires in the republic had affected nearly 460,000 hectares till June 24. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Bursting myths related to new criminal laws which soon to be implemented. All arrangements in place for commencement of 52-day-long Amarnath Yatra. Indian Army constructed a 70-foot Bailey Bridge in less than 72 hours.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Siddharth Bharadwaj and a quick recap of the headlines. Joe Biden and Donald Trump open US presidential debate with no handshake, then quickly spar over their presidencies. Both men come face to face for the first time in almost 4 years to try and convince voters. EU leaders nominate von der Leyen to head Commission for second term, while Italian Prime Minister Meloni terms the proposal a mistake. World's largest maritime drills begin in an increasingly tense Asia-Pacific. US Pacific Fleet hosting Rim of the Pacific, bringing together the armed forces of 29 countries. Delhi rejoices as trailer of monsoon releases. Met Department issues yellow alert for day and more showers in store in coming days. India storm into final of T20 Cricket World Cup after 10 years. Rout England by 68 runs. Sets up final with maiden finalist South Africa. Today in Indian Parliament, motion of thanks for the President's address will be presented in the lower house of the Parliament. BJP MP Bansuri Swaraj will second the motion, expressing gratitude for President's address to the joint session of Parliament on Thursday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi likely to respond on the motion of thanks on July 2nd. On Thursday, President Draupadi Murmu addressed the joint session of Parliament for the first time following the Lok Sabha elections. In her speech, she congratulated the Election Commission on successfully conducting the elections and discussed several key issues, including the violence in the northeast and the emergency imposed by the Congress government in 1975. The Indian Parliament passed 3 new criminal laws: the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, the Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita and the Bharatiya Saksha Adhiniyam to replace the Indian Penal Code 1860. The Criminal Procedure Code 1973 and the Indian Evidence Act 1872. These are soon to be implemented. There are some myths related to these. DD India bursts them for you.
The newly enacted laws Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita and Bharatiya Saksha Act, which will completely overhaul the criminal justice system in the country, will come into effect from July 1st this year. The 3 laws got the Parliament's approval on December 21st last year, and President Draupadi Murmu gave her assent on December 25th. The laws will replace the colonial era Indian Penal Code, the Code of Criminal Procedure and the Indian Evidence Act of 1872, respectively. The 3 legislations aim at completely overhauling the criminal justice system in the country by giving definitions of various offences and their punishments. However, the provision related to cases of hit and run by vehicle drivers will not be implemented immediately. There are several myths related to these 3 laws. A myth about the laws is that there is harsh punishment of 10 years of imprisonment with 10 lakh rupee fine in hit and run cases. However, the truth is that to enhance road safety and justice for victims, the new laws introduce intensified penalties to curb the rising incidence of hit and run accidents. The law provides gradation of punishment in hit and run cases. The amount of fine being rupees 10 lakh is completely false. The enhanced punishment of 10 years is for those who escape without reporting the hit and run cases. And the Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India, has taken note of the concerns raised by truckers regarding the provision of 10 years imprisonment and fines. The decision to invoke Section 106, Part 2 will only be taken after consultation with the All India Motor Transport Congress.
And the first batch of Amarnath Yatra pilgrims flagged off for Kashmir on Friday from Jammu. Amid tight security, Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha flagged off the first batch of the Yatra. The annual pilgrimage to Holy Shrine nestled in majestic South Kashmir Himalaya will begin from the 48 kilometers Nunwan Pahalgam route in Anantnag and 14 kilometer treacherous Baltal route in Ganderbal on Saturday. In the backdrop of fresh spate of terror attacks, the civil and police administration have made unparalleled arrangements both in terms of security, logistics, registration and other facilities to make Yatra a peaceful, incident-free and memorable experience for pilgrims. Alright, and after persistent scorching heat, India's national capital finally receives incessant rainfall, marking a fresh start of Friday. Parts of Delhi received spells of heavy rainfall, bringing much needed respite from the sweltering heat. The India Meteorological Department has forecasted the weather for the next 7 days in Delhi, predicting generally cloudy skies and varying intensities of rain accompanied by gusty winds, with temperatures similar to the previous day and wind speeds reaching up to 35 km per hour. And due to heavy downpour, a section of roof at Terminal 1 of Delhi's Indira Gandhi International Airport collapsed. 4 people were injured and taken to hospital. Several cars were hit by parts of the roof that collapsed on them at the T1. Fire engines rushed to the spot after the instructions by Delhi Fire Services. The Union Minister of Civil Aviation said that he is personally monitoring the incident and the rescue operation is still underway. All right, DD India correspondent Dibyendu Mondal is joining us from New Delhi. Hello Dibyendu, very good morning to you. I can see you're holding an umbrella. Delhi in fact got much respite from the sweltering heat. But what is the atmosphere as far as the water logging is concerned and as far as the traffic jams are concerned?
Well, very good morning to that. That's right. Delhi has been witnessing heavy to moderate to heavy rainfall since last evening. In fact, since late last night, due to which several roads across the national capital are inundated. Even the diplomatic area of Shantipat is being reported to be waterlogged. Several areas, including the Dholakua stretch, which goes to the airport, is also inundated. The Minto Road, the notorious Minto Road, which gets flooded during every little rainfall in Delhi, is also being reported to be underwater. There are also reports about a bus without passengers, thankfully, is also underwater at the Minto Road bridge in the Connaught Place circle of the national capital. The Met Department has predicted predicted for orange alert and rainfall across the national capital and its adjoining areas throughout the day today. The rains, and thankfully, Siddharth, as you were rightly saying, it's much respite to the people from the sweltering heat of Delhi. This rainfall have brought in chaos on the streets. Because this early morning hours where people have to go to their offices and they will be witnessing long traffic snarls across several crucial intersection points across the national capital of Delhi. So of course that is going to add, to the commuter chaos in the streets of Delhi, and we have always noticed that whenever there's a rainfall, there's massive traffic jams that are reported from different parts of the city. So of course that is what is also happening in several parts of the city since morning, because people are having to go to their offices this morning. But since that also importantly, flight operations from Terminal 1 have been curtailed because of the roof collapse that happened early in the morning at about 5 a.m. DIAL have already issued a statement saying that they will be investigating this issue, and all rescue operations are underway. There are reportedly 5 individuals who have been injured and have been taken to hospital for treatment. Indigo have also issued a statement saying that all flights to and from Terminal 1 of the Delhi airport has been cancelled due to this incident that happened at about 5 a.m. in the morning in the newly renovated Terminal 1 of the Delhi airport. Back to you, Siddhant.
All right, thank you so much for that analysis, Dibendu. Heavy rains are occurring in isolated places of Assam, Meghalaya, Manipur, Mizoram. The IMD has issued orange alert for Assam. Heavy rains has led to urban flooding in Kamrup and Dibrugarh. Roads were submerged in Dibrugarh city, causing inconvenience to citizens. The number of flood-affected victims remains at 1.1 lakh. And let's take a look at other stories making news. In a remarkable feat of engineering and efficiency, the Indian Army constructed a 70-foot Bailey Bridge in less than 72 hours in northeastern state of Sikkim. The rapid construction was necessitated by the need to restore connectivity in a remote area that had been cut off due to recent landslides and heavy rains. This swift and effective response underscores the Army's commitment to providing timely support to development. Fishing boats have been grounded due to severe weather conditions in Gujarat's Oka. Heavy rain has lashed the region, leading to heightened concerns about the safety of fishermen and their vessels. Local authorities issued an urgent advisory halting all fishing activities and urging boat owners to secure their boats until the weather improves. The opening ceremony for the upcoming exhibition Eternal Resonance Between Indian Culture and Korean Culture was held in the national capital. A total of 5 Indian artists and Korean artists have been selected for the exhibition. The exhibition to last till 27th of September. Still to come on DD News Hour. Dollar budges past 161 yen and eyes quarterly rise. Germany set for a big weekend of football as final 16 of Euro 2024 kicks off across the country. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. India retained its leading position in the Emerging Markets League table, achieving a composite score of 70 out of 100. This marked the 6th consecutive month that India has claimed the top spot, having held this position for 13 out of last 15 months. The country's strong export growth and stock market performance, bolstered by robust GDP growth, have contributed to its dominance among emerging markets. The dollar was headed for a second straight quarterly gain and jumped to a near 4-decade high on the battered yen in Asia trade on Friday ahead of a crucial US inflation reading. Neither an oversight drop in US yields nor data showing solid consumer price gains in Tokyo could arrest the downward slide in Japan's currency, which sank to its weakest since 1986. Low Japanese interest rates have encouraged selling yen for higher yielding currencies known as a carry trade, even as Japanese yields have started to rise and Japanese officials have warned of another round of currency intervention. American multinational company Walgreens plans to close about 650 to 700 underperforming stores in the US. The company also plans to shut up to 650 Boots stores in UK and expects to record related pre-tax charges of between 3.8 billion and 4.1 billion US dollars. The drugstore operator's CEO had set in motion a complete overhaul at Walgreens through close and cost-cutting plan. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for sport. And former Zimbabwe captain Andy Flower criticized the pitch used for the T20 World Cup semi-final match in Tarouba on Thursday. He described it as dangerous following Afghanistan's crushing 9-wicket loss to South Africa. Afghanistan struggled on the challenging surface while exhibited inconsistent bounce and excessive seam movement. They were bundled out for paltry 56 runs in just 11.5 overs, their lowest total in T20I cricket. South Africa capitalized on the situation and secured their maiden World Cup final berth. India's Kiran Pahal qualified for Paris Olympics in women's 400-meter category. Hailing from India's northern state Haryana, Kiran clawed 50.92 seconds in the semi-finals of women's 400 meters at National Interstate Athletics Championships in Panchkula. Pahal became the second fastest women's 400-meter runner in Indian history behind Hima Das, 50.79 seconds, and secured her spot at Paris Games after finishing within the automatic standard of 50.95 seconds for the Olympics. She ended ahead of Devi Aniba Zala of Gujarat, who was distant second with timing of 53.44, while Kerala's Sneha K came third by clocking 53.51. In the T20 Cricket World Cup, India has advanced to the final after a gap of 10 years. The Rohit Sharma-led side registered a commanding 68-run win over England in the second semi-final match at Providence Stadium, Guyana on Thursday. In Guyana, Rohit Sharma and Surya Kumar Yadav played a crucial knocks as India posted a total of 171 for 7 in 20 overs after being invited to bat. Akshar Patel dented England's chase with figures of 3 for 23, while Kuldeep Yadav also picked 3 for 19. The 2007 champions have set up a summit clash with South Africa, who outplayed Afghanistan by 9 wickets in first semi-final. Well, India snatched a comfortable win from England. It was somewhere said that it's a repeat of India versus England, what happened in 2022, but it's completely different, and it turned out to be an exciting contest between the two sides rather. And to talk more on this, we've been joined by DD India correspondent Tapas Bhattacharya from Guyana. Hello Tapas, we were discussing India versus England. Certainly what a match. What were fans saying? You were there inside the stadium.
Well, it was absolutely electrifying, to say the least. Absolutely, all the fans were overjoyed. They wanted India to make it to the final, and it happened. And you know, the way they said that, you know, before this particular match, India played against Australia. They took the they said that India avenged the defeat of the 2023 World Cup final. Before England's match, the fans were talking about, you know, avenging the defeat of the 2022 semi-final clash. Indian team did exactly that, and you know, it's a huge moral boost the way Indian team has played in the match. It's a huge point the way it was clinical performance by Team India. The way they played throughout the whole match. Be it the batsmen who made it a point that they score over 170 runs in this particular pitch. Anything over 140, 50 would have been very tough target, but 170 was actually too much for any side. With the ball coming out, with the ball coming onto the bat not in a very free-flowing manner. The pitch was quite slow, low, and with the variable bounce playing trick. It was always difficult to score, and then came the spinners. With the way Indian spinners bowled, that too with Akshar Patel coming out and in the power play taking big wickets the first ball of his first over. Then against in each of his over he scored, he took first wicket. So that was a huge statement from Team India that they are here and they want to win this T20 World Cup. And now the caravan will move to Barbados, where the final will be taking place on 29th.
All right, thanks for joining in, Tapas. Germany is set for a big weekend of football as the final 16 of Euro 2024 kicks off across the country. The European tournament has seen football fans from across the world flock to host cities, including Berlin, where DD India correspondent caught up with some of those enjoying the colourful celebrations of the championship, where plenty of national pride was on display.
Well, in the shadow of some of Germany's most famous landmarks lies the official Euros 2024 Berlin fan zone. This is the beating heart of where supporters, not just from this city, but right across Europe, can come to cheer on their squad. Let's go and meet some of them. How are you enjoying the visit?
I like it. It's great, great people, a little bit, but good.
What do you mean a bit, Explain that.
Some Germans are a little bit, but...
always mad.
Mad, yeah.
The Germans are always mad.
Yeah. Well, I like them.
Did you enjoy a good German schnitzel?
German schnitzel, no, never. We don't eat German schnitzel, come on.
Why?
We only eat Austrian schnitzel.
Let's go, let's go! Is that traditional dance?
No, it's not traditional.
Where are all the Austrians? I can't see any Austrians. You scared them all away.
The other fans.
Oh, they're separating you.
Oh, I don't know.
Because they don't want you to...
Yes, I think.
Yeah. Oh, well, you behave yourself, okay?
Yeah, we will do.
You be on your best behaviour, all of you.
Yeah.
Okay. Scottish supporters, is this a drink to commiserate or to celebrate? How are we feeling?
Mixed emotions, I think. It's good to obviously get to a tournament, but let ourselves down performance-wise, so a bit of both, I think. I think the Scottish fans have just been loved by everybody here, all the Germans, in fact, every nation I think we've spoken to have enjoyed the Scottish fans, so that's been quite nice. So, yeah.
You're looking very relaxed right now. Is your position at the top of the group contributing to this current relaxed position you have?
I would say it's more to do with the whole atmosphere around the whole event. It's been fantastic. Berlin's a beautiful city. Germany's a great country. I'm half German, which is why I have a British accent, in case you were wondering. But yeah, the team's been fantastic so far, and why not start to dream? Maybe we're going to win it.
Away from the official fun and festivities, the influx of football fans also represents a big boost for business. Berlin's population is set to double over the course of this championship, with restaurant and retail precincts like this one cashing in on hundreds of thousands of new customers. The government says all that German hospitality will contribute a whopping 0.5 percentage point to the country's GDP. Trent Murray for DD India, Berlin.
And we get you the live visuals post the high-stake debate in Atlanta. US President Biden stops by a campaign event to meet political enthusiasts. All right. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.